Hi guys, this is Miss Igo. Welcome to my classroom. Today I'm going to teach you a super simple way of finding the values of trig functions using the hand trick. To use the hand trick, we're going to hold our hand out just like this, and then we're going to label our fingers as if we were traveling counterclockwise on the unit circle starting at 0 and going to 90 degrees. So this is what it would look like labeled from 0 to 90 degrees, and we're labeling the special angles. So we have 0, 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 60 degrees, and 90 degrees. And depending on which angle we want to find the values of the trig function for, we're going to put down that finger. So let's start with trying to find the trig function values for 30 degrees. So I've put down my pointer finger, which represents the 30-degree angle, and now let's find the sine of that angle. The sine of 30 degrees is going to equal the square root of the number of fingers to the right over 2. So here's my 30 degrees. The number of fingers to the right is 1. And it's over 2. Well, the square root of 1 is 1. So that tells me that the sine of 30 degrees equals 1/2. The value of the sine of 30 degrees equals 1/2. Now let's find the cosine of 30 degrees. The cosine of 30 degrees is equal to the square root of the number of fingers to the left over 2. So again, we have our pointer finger bent down, and the number of fingers to the left are 1, 2, 3. So we have the square root of 3 over 2. That's simplified. So the square root of 3 over 2 is the value of the cosine of 30 degrees. Lastly, we'll find the tangent of 30 degrees. We find the tangent by taking the square root of the number of fingers to the right and putting it over the square root of the number of fingers to the left. So the number of fingers to the right is 1. So that would be the square root of 1 over the number of fingers to the left is 3. So that would be the square root of 3. So that gives us the square root of 1 over 3. So that's 1 over the square root of 3. And then we need to rationalize that. So we would multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the square root of 3, and we would get tangent of 30 degrees to be the square root of 3 over 3. Now let's find the values for 45 degrees. So the sine of 45 degrees is going to be the square root of the number of fingers to the right over 2. The number of fingers to the right is 2. So that would be the square root of 2 over 2. The cosine of 45 degrees is the square root of the number of fingers to the left over 2. The number of fingers to the left is 2. So the cosine of 45 degrees is the square root of 2 over 2. And for tangent of 45 degrees, we have the square root of the number of fingers to the right, which is the square root of 2, over the square root of the number of fingers to the left, which is 2. So that's over the square root of 2, and that would be 1. Okay, let's finish it off by finding the values of the trig functions for 60 degrees. So the sine of 60 degrees is going to equal the square root of the number of fingers to the right. Okay, so we have 3 fingers to the right over 2. So the sine of 60 degrees is the square root of 3 over 2. The cosine of 60 degrees is the square root of the number of fingers to the left. That would be 1. And so we get the square root of 1 over 2, which again, the square root of 1 is 1. So the cosine of 60 degrees is 1/2. And the tangent of 60 degrees is the square root of the number of fingers to the right, which would be 3, over the square root of the number of fingers to the left, which is 1. Again, square root of 1 is 1, so that would simplify to the square root of 3. This can also be used to find the values of the trig functions for 0 and 90 degrees. For example, if we were going to find the sine of 0, the number of fingers to the right is 0, so that would be the square root of 0 over 2, which would just be 0, and the sine of 0 degrees is 0. The cosine of 0 degrees, the number of fingers to the left of the 0, would be 4, so that's the square root of 4 over 2. The square root of 4 is 2, and 2 over 2 is 1, and the cosine of 0 is 1. The tangent of 0 would be the square root of the number of fingers to the right, that's 0, the square root of the number of fingers to the right, over the square root of the number of fingers to the left, so that would be 0 over 2, which is 0. If the 0 were on the bottom, which would be the case whenever we're trying to find the trig function values for 90 degrees, tangent is going to be undefined. That's whenever you have the 0 in the denominator. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, be sure to share it with your classmates. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you for watching.